What would you do if minutes before saying "I do" you discovered that the man of your life and your best friend were cheating on you, and that your wedding was just a scam? Isabel Turner believed she was about to live the happiest day of her life. Pregnant in love and surrounded by friends and family, she had no idea that it was all a carefully planned illusion. But an unexpected note revealed a truth that would change her destiny forever. What if I told you that this story doesn't end with a broken heart, but with a revenge so well planned that it left all the guests speechless? Stay with me until the end, because what Isabel did at the altar no one could have predicted. And what came after was even more shocking. Now tell me, where are you watching from today? And if you're enjoying this story, leave your comment below. Oh, and make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow's special episode is one you definitely won't want to miss. Isabel Turner stood before the mirror, her heart racing, as she adjusted the delicate lace veil that framed her face. Today was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. The soft ivory fabric of her wedding gown hugged her curves, a testament to the 5 months of pregnancy that had transformed her body. She gazed at her reflection, momentarily lost in the image of a glowing bride. But as she ran her fingers over her belly, the anticipation was tinged with an undercurrent of anxiety. "Isabel, you look stunning." Victoria Hayes, her best friend and maid of honor, entered the room, her voice bright with excitement. Dressed in a coordinating lavender gown, Victoria beamed with pride. "Nathan is going to be speechless when he sees you." "Thanks, Vicky," Isabel replied, forcing a smile as she turned to look at her friend. "I can't believe it's finally happening." Victoria clasped her hands together, her eyes sparkling. "You've dreamed of this day for so long. It's your fairy tale come true." Isabel nodded, but the fluttering in her stomach suggested something was amiss. She caught a glimpse of Nathan's handsome face in her mind, the way he had proposed with a glimmering ring and promises of forever. They had built a life together, one filled with laughter and plans for their growing family. But a nagging doubt lingered, a shadow that refused to be banished by the excitement of the day. "Are you feeling okay?" Victoria asked, her brow furrowing with concern. "You seem a little off." "I'm fine, just a bit nervous, I guess," Isabel replied, brushing off her friend's concern. "It's a big step." "Of course. But you're going to be amazing. Just remember, you're marrying the love of your life." Victoria's enthusiasm was infectious, and Isabel found herself smiling more genuinely. "Right. The love of my life," she echoed, trying to summon the confidence she needed. As the minutes ticked away, the sound of guests arriving floated up the grand staircase, blending with the soft music playing in the background. Isabel could already hear the laughter and chatter, the clinking of glasses and the rustling of elegant dresses. She closed her eyes for a moment, envisioning the scene down below. The beautiful floral arrangements, the twinkling lights, and the faces of their friends and family all gathered to celebrate their love. "Let's go. You can't keep Nathan waiting any longer," Victoria urged, tugging at Isabel's hand. "You're going to be a beautiful bride." With a deep breath, Isabel nodded and stepped toward the door. As she descended the staircase, her heart raced both from excitement and a creeping sense of dread. She could feel the weight of every gaze as she entered the reception hall, the warmth of the smiles from loved ones, and the way the light danced across the room. And then she saw him, Nathan, standing at the end of the aisle, looking dashing in his tailored suit, a wide smile plastered across his face. Isabel's breath caught in her throat. He looked perfect, and for a moment all her doubts faded as she focused on him. He was everything she had ever wanted, and yet as she walked toward him, a flicker of unease settled in her chest. "Wow," Nathan whispered as she approached, his eyes widening in awe. "You look absolutely breathtaking." "Thank you," Isabel replied, her heart swelling with affection. She took his hands in hers, feeling the warmth and strength in his grip. "I can't believe we're finally here." "Neither can I," he said, his voice low and sincere. "You're my everything, Isabel. I promise to love you and our baby forever." The ceremony unfolded like a dream, the vows exchanged, the laughter shared. Isabel felt weightless, lost in the moment, her love for Nathan overshadowing her doubts. But as they turned to face their guests, The world outside her bubble seemed to shift. Suddenly the doors swung open with a loud bang and a hush fell over the crowd. Isabel's heart raced as she turned to see Victoria standing there, her face pale and eyes wide with panic. "Isabel, wait!" Victoria shouted, her voice trembling. "You need to stop." A wave of confusion washed over the room, and Isabel's stomach dropped. Before she could comprehend what was happening, Nathan's expression changed from joy to irritation. "What are you doing, Vicky?" He snapped, his voice low and dangerous. Victoria's gaze darted between Isabel and Nathan, desperation etched on her face. "You don't understand. It's not what it seems." "What's going on?" Isabel demanded, stepping forward. "Victoria, what are you talking about?" "Isabel, please," Victoria pleaded, her voice rising. "You have to know the truth about him. Nathan isn't who you think he is." A murmur rippled through the crowd, and Isabel felt as if the ground was shifting beneath her feet. "What do you mean?" she asked, panic rising in her chest. "What truth?" Nathan moved to block Victoria. From stepping closer, his jaw clenched. "This is absurd. Don't listen to her, Isabel. She's just trying to ruin our day." Isabel's heart raced as she turned to Nathan, her trust wavering. "What is she talking about?" "Nothing. She's lying." Nathan shouted, his voice laced with anger. "You know me, Isabel. I love you." "Do you?" Isabel shot back, her voice trembling. "Is that why she's here? What does she know?" Victoria took a deep breath, her gaze unwavering. "I know about the money, Nathan. I know what you've been planning. You're not just with Isabel for love, you want her family's fortune." Gasps filled the room, and Isabel's heart sank as she felt the weight of the accusation hang in the air. Nathan's face flushed with fury. "How dare you? You don't know what you're talking about." "Don't lie to her," Victoria insisted, her voice breaking. "You've been using her, Nathan. You've been lying to all of us." Isabel took a step back, her mind racing as the truth began to unravel before her. "Nathan, is that true?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Are you using me?" "No, I would never," Nathan exclaimed, desperation creeping into his tone. "This is all a misunderstanding." But as Isabel searched his eyes, she felt the warmth of their love begin to chill. The flicker of doubt she had felt earlier ignited into a roaring fire. "If you love me, then why would she say these things?" Before Nathan could respond, Victoria pressed on her voice, shaking with emotion. "Isabel, I've seen the way he looks at your father's business. He doesn't care about you, he cares about what you can give him." Isabel's breath hitched in her throat as the pieces began to fall into place. The late-night conversations. Nathan's sudden interest in her family's finances, the way he always seemed to be just a little too eager to please her father. "No," she whispered, shaking her head as the realization hit her. "Isabel." Nathan's voice was a low growl, but she could see the cracks in his facade beginning to form. "I can't believe this," she said, stepping away from him, her heart pounding in her chest. "You've been lying to me this whole time." "Isabel, please." Nathan started, but she didn't want to hear it. Her world was crumbling around. Her and the man she thought she loved was nothing more than a stranger. "No, this is supposed to be our day," she cried, her voice rising above the whispers of the crowd. "I deserve the truth." As Nathan opened his mouth to respond, she felt a surge of strength coursing through her. She was no longer the naive bride standing at the altar, but a woman who had been wronged, and she would not let this moment define her. "Everyone, I have something to say," Isabel called out, her voice steady. What was meant to be a day of celebration has turned into a moment of revelation. "Nathan, you may have thought you could play with my heart, but you've underestimated me." The guests stared in shock, and as she looked around she could see the concern etched on their faces. "I will not be a pawn in your game. I deserve better than lies and deceit." Victoria stepped forward, her expression a mix of relief and admiration. "Isabel, you're so strong. You don't need him." "No, I don't," Isabel said, her voice firm, "and I won't let you take any more of my life away from me." As she turned to face Nathan, the man she had once envisioned a future with, she felt the weight of her decisions settle over her like a protective shield. Today she would reclaim her narrative. Today she would finally become the heroine of her own story. The sun was shining brightly over the picturesque garden where white roses and lilies adorned the archway leading to the altar. Isabel Turner stood with her heart pounding in her chest, the delicate lace of her wedding dress whispering against her skin as she gazed around at the guests. Family and friends had gathered, their faces radiant with joy, all eager to witness the beginning of what they believed would be a beautiful union. But beneath the surface, a tempest brewed within her. "Are you ready?" Victoria leaned in her, voice a soft murmur laced with excitement. Isabel glanced at her best friend and felt a pang of unease. Was she really ready? She nodded, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I'm just nervous," Isabel admitted, her fingers fidgeting with the delicate silver bracelet Nathan had given her. The weight of the moment felt heavy, as if the air itself was pregnant with secrets. "Don't be, it's going to be perfect," Victoria reassured her, squeezing her hand. "Nathan loves you. This is your day." But the words felt hollow, echoing in Isabel's mind, like a distant memory. She could see Nathan waiting at the altar, his handsome face radiant with anticipation, but the image flickered like a faulty light bulb. What if everything was not as it seemed? She brushed the thought aside, focusing instead on the love she thought she shared with Nathan. He had been her rock, her support, the man she believed would be her partner for life. As the music began to play, Isabel took a deep breath, her heart racing as she began her slow walk down the aisle. Each step felt like a countdown to a moment that could change everything. The eyes of the guests were on her, but her mind was elsewhere, caught in a whirlwind of doubt and fear. She could see Liam, the young waiter from the hotel, standing at the edge of the crowd. He offered her an encouraging nod, his expression serious yet sympathetic. When she reached Nathan, he smiled wide, but it didn't reach his eyes. They exchanged vows, the words feeling scripted. They promised to love and cherish one another, to be there in sickness and health. But Isabel's heart began to sink further, as Nathan's gaze drifted, almost as if he was looking for someone else among the guests. Then came the moment of truth, the exchange of rings. Nathan took her hand, and as the cool metal slid onto her finger, a chill coursed through her. Suddenly she felt the urge to scream, to run away from the altar, away from Nathan, but she fought against it. She had to do this. She had to see this through. But then, as if the universe had heard her silent cries, an unexpected voice rang out. "Isabel." The crowd turned and a hush fell over the guests, as Victoria's voice broke the tension, laced with an urgency that sent shivers down Isabel's spine. "You can't marry him. You have to know." "Know what?" Isabel's heart raced as she turned to face her best friend, confusion and dread mingling in her chest. "What are you talking about?" "Victoria, stop." Nathan barked, his eyes flashing with anger. "This isn't the time. It is the time." Victoria shot back, her voice trembling with emotion. "You deserve to know the truth." Isabel looked back and forth between the two, her mind racing as she felt the blood drain from her face. "Victoria, what truth? What are you saying?" "Isabel." Nathan started, his voice low and menacing. "Don't listen to her, she's just trying to ruin our day." "No." Victoria stepped forward, her expression fierce. "I'm trying to save you. Isabel, Nathan has been lying to you." "He's been with me for years," gasps erupted from the crowd, and Isabel felt as though the ground had opened up beneath her. "What?" She breathed, her voice barely a whisper. The world around her blurred, and for a moment she was suspended in disbelief. "I never meant for you to find out like this," Victoria continued, her voice breaking. "But I couldn't let you go through with this wedding thinking you were happy." "Is this true?" Isabel's voice was steady, yet her heart felt like it was shattering into a million pieces. She turned to Nathan, searching his face for any sign of truth. "Is this true?" Nathan's face twisted in anger, but there was a flicker of something else, fear. "Don't listen to her, Isabel. She's just jealous. She wants what we have." "Jealous?" Victoria laughed, the sound bitter and hollow. "How you think I want to take your place? I just want you to see the truth before it's too late." The crowd was now abuzz with whispers, and Isabel felt her chest tighten. This wasn't just about betrayal. It felt like a betrayal of everything. She believed in everything she worked for. She had trusted Nathan with her heart, her dreams, and now it felt like a cruel joke. "Isabel, please," Nathan pleaded, desperation creeping into his voice. "You know I love you. We can work through this." "I can't believe you," Isabel shouted, her voice strong, despite the pain clawing at her heart. "How could you do this to me, to us?" Isabel, Nathan started, but she cut him off, the rage and hurt boiling inside her. No more lies, she declared, her voice echoing through the garden. This wedding is over. With a sudden rush of adrenaline, Isabel turned to face her guests, her heart racing as she prepared to expose the truth. Everyone, I have something to say. The crowd fell silent, all eyes on her, and she could see Liam watching intently, his expression one of concern and support. Today was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, she began, her voice trembling but resolute. But instead it has become a day of revelation. Nathan has betrayed me, not just with my best friend, but in ways I never imagined. He has been lying to me about who he truly is. Gasps rippled through the crowd, and she felt a wave of anger and courage. I will not let myself be a victim of this deceit any longer. I deserve better. Victoria stepped forward, her eyes pleading. Isabel, please, you need to know. Enough. Isabel interrupted, her voice rising. You had your chance to tell me the truth, and you chose to betray me instead. I deserve to know who I'm marrying. Isabel, please, Nathan interjected, desperation etched on his face. Let's talk about this privately. No, she shouted, and the finality in her voice silenced him. You don't get to control this. Not anymore. Isabel took a deep breath, feeling a newfound strength surging within her. I am done with lies and deceit. I'm taking back my life. She turned to the guests once more, her heart racing but her resolve unshakable. Thank you all for being here, but I cannot go through with this wedding. Nathan, this is over. And as she stood there, the sunlight filtering through the trees, she felt a strange sense of liberation. The devastation of betrayal was still fresh, but in that moment she knew she had chosen the path of truth. There was no turning back now. It was time to reclaim her life. Isabel stood frozen in the lavish church, her heart pounding against her chest like a caged bird, desperate for freedom. The air was thick with the scent of white lilies and the whispered confusion of the guests, who had come to witness what was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. Instead, it had morphed into a nightmare. Nathan and Victoria's betrayal played like a cruel film reel in her mind, each frame sharp and vivid, each moment a reminder of the love she thought was real. Isabel, murmured a timid voice from beside. Her. Liam Rivera, the young waiter she had met only a few days earlier, looked at her with an expression of concern etched on his face. Are you okay? You don't have to go through with this. She turned to him, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. I can't just walk away, Liam. Not after what they did. They think they can humiliate me and get away with it. I need to show them I'm not weak. Liam nodded, his brow furrowed. I understand. But how do you plan to do that? Isabel took a deep breath, steadying herself. She had thought long and hard about her next steps after the gut-wrenching discovery. She would not let Nathan and Victoria steal her moment. Instead, she would reclaim it. I'm going to expose them right here, right now, she declared, her voice firmer than she felt. I want everyone to know the truth about who they really are. As the orchestra began to play the traditional wedding march, she felt a surge of adrenaline course through her veins. This was it, the moment of truth. She could either let her heart be shattered further or turn her pain into power. She chose the latter. The guests began to rise, and Isabel stepped forward, her heart racing. She felt the weight of their stares, their curiosity, their judgment, but she also felt something else, an unfamiliar strength. She scanned the crowd, searching for Nathan's face, which was betraying a mixture of confusion and dread as he caught her eye. Victoria, standing beside him, wore a mask of feigned innocence, her smile wavering slightly. Everyone, please, Isabel said, raising her voice to command attention. I have something important to share before we proceed with this wedding. The murmurs grew louder, and she could see Nathan's expression darken, his jaw tightening in a way that made her stomach churn. Isabel, just stop her, he hissed, stepping forward. We can talk about this later. Let's not ruin the day. Ruin the day, she replied, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. You ruined it the moment you decided to betray me, Nathan. You and Victoria have been lying to me for years. The gasps from the crowd echoed in the high ceilings of the church. Victoria stepped forward, her eyes wide with faux surprise. Isabel, that's not fair. We can explain everything. Explain? Isabel shot back, her voice rising. You mean you can explain how you've been sleeping with my fiancé while pretending to be my friend. How you plotted behind my back to take everything I hold dear. Please, let's not do this here, Nathan pleaded, his facade cracking, revealing his desperation. You're just hurt. We can work through this. Work through this, Isabel scoffed, her heart racing. You think I want to work through a lifetime of lies? This is about so much more than you two. It's about the truth. She turned to the guests, her voice unwavering. Nathan Carter is a fraud, and Victoria Hayes, she's no better. They were never in this for love. They wanted to take everything from me, including my family's business. The crowd was silent shock washing over their faces. She could see the disbelief ripple through the congregation, and it invigorated her. Nathan here has been using our relationship to get close to my father, to manipulate us into trusting him. She continued, her voice steady. He's not the man he pretends to be. He's a con artist. A murmur surged through the crowd, a mixture of gasps and whispers. Isabel felt a rush of power surge through her. This was the moment she had been waiting for, the moment she would reclaim her life from the ashes of betrayal. Isabel, stop! Nathan shouted, anger flashing in his eyes. You're making a mistake. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? She countered, narrowing her eyes at him. I've done my research, Nathan. I've seen the way you've manipulated everyone around you, how you've used your charm to gain trust. But no more. I will not let you destroy my family's legacy for your greed. Legacy? Nathan laughed bitterly, trying to regain control. You think this is about your family's legacy? This was never about money for me, it was about you. I loved you. Isabel's heart twisted in her chest at his words, but she steeled herself. You loved me. Or did you love the life you thought you could have with my family's wealth? You're nothing without the mask you wear. Victoria, realizing the tide had turned against them, attempted to intervene. Isabel, please, you're being unreasonable. We're all friends here. We can work this out. Friends? Isabel spat, her voice dripping with disdain. You betrayed me in the worst way possible. Friends don't sleep with each other's fiancés. Friends don't plot to destroy each other. You think you can just walk away from this? The tension in the air was palpable, thick enough to slice with a knife. Isabel felt a surge of adrenaline, the rush of confronting the truth fueling her resolve. Let's not forget, she continued, her eyes locking onto Victoria's, that you've been in on this from the very beginning. You were supposed to be my support, my confidant. Instead, you were plotting my downfall. Isabel, I never meant, Victoria began, but Isabel cut her off. Save it, she snapped. I'm done listening to your lies. You both thought I would just stand here and take it, didn't you? You thought I would be the perfect little bride, oblivious to your games. Well, guess what? I'm not that woman anymore. The crowd erupted into whispers, and Isabel took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their gazes. She wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for her future, for her child. Liam stepped closer, his presence a grounding force beside her. You're doing great, Isabel, he said quietly, his eyes shining with admiration. Keep going. With renewed determination, she faced Nathan and Victoria one last time. You may think you've won, but this is just the beginning. I will not let you ruin my life any longer. This isn't just about betrayal, it's about reclaiming my power and protecting my child. Nathan opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out. He looked around at the guests, the weight of his lies bearing down on him. The facade was crumbling, and Isabel could see the fear in his eyes. As she stood there feeling the rush of liberation flood through her, she knew this was just the first step in a long journey ahead. But today she had taken back her voice. Today she had shattered the shackles of deceit that had bound her for far too long. Goodbye, Nathan. Goodbye, Victoria, she said, her voice steady. I hope you enjoy the mess you've made. With that she turned on her heel, her heart pounding, not with fear but with the exhilarating rush of freedom. As she walked down the aisle, she felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She was ready to face whatever came next, and for the first time in a long time she felt like she could finally breathe again. Isabel stood in front of the mirror, her reflection a chaotic blend of emotions, anger, betrayal, and a strange sense of empowerment. She adjusted the delicate lace of her wedding dress, now a symbol of everything she had lost and everything she was about to reclaim. Her heart raced as she thought of Nathan, the man she had loved unconditionally, and Victoria, her lifelong friend who had crumbled her world into ashes. "Isabel," a soft voice called from the doorway. It was Liam, the young waiter who had become her unexpected ally. He stepped into the room with a hesitant smile, his dark hair falling slightly over his forehead. "Are you ready?" "Ready?" She scoffed, turning to face him, her eyes flashing with defiance. "I'm not sure I'll ever be ready for what's about to happen." Liam took a step closer, concern etched on his face. "You don't have to go through with this alone. I'm here for you. Just tell me what you need." She sighed, running a hand through her hair, feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders. "I need to show everyone the truth. I need them to see Nathan for who he really is. It's not just about the betrayal, it's about taking control back." "Then let's do it," Liam said, his voice steady and reassuring. "I've got your back." As they exited the bridal suite, Isabel felt a rush of adrenaline. The grand hall was already filled with guests, laughter and chatter echoing around her. It was supposed to be a celebration of love, but for her, it was a battlefield. She could see Nathan at the altar, his smile radiant and oblivious, while Victoria, dressed in an elegant gown that matched the wedding theme, stood beside him, looking every bit the perfect maid of honor. Isabel's stomach churned. "Are you sure you want to go through with this?" Liam whispered as they approached the entrance. "Once you start, there's no turning back." Isabel squared her shoulders, determination hardening her resolve. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." Taking a deep breath, she pushed through the double doors, the lavish hall falling silent as all eyes turned toward her. The music that had been playing softly faded into an uncomfortable stillness. Gasps filled the air as the guests took in her presence, a vision of grace and fury, the bride who had come to reclaim her narrative. "Isabel." Nathan's voice broke through the silence, confusion etched on his face. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here to tell the truth, Nathan," she announced, her voice steady and clear, ringing through the hall like a bell. "About you and Victoria." Whispers rippled through the crowd, the tension palpable. Victoria's eyes widened, panic flickering across her features. She stepped forward, a desperate smile on her lips. "Isabel, maybe we should talk about this later. It's not the time." "No," Isabel interrupted, her voice rising. "You don't get to silence me anymore. So I've spent too long being told to brush things under the rug, to ignore the signs. But not today." The guests shifted uncomfortably, and Nathan's expression morphed from confusion to anger. "What the hell are you talking about?" "Don't play innocent." Isabel shot back, her anger fueling her courage. "I know about you two, the lies, the deceit. I know you've been cheating on me with my best friend for years." Gasps erupted from the audience, and a murmur of disbelief spread like wildfire. Liam stood at her side, watching intently, ready to support her in whatever way she needed. "Isabel, this isn't true," Nathan protested, his voice rising in pitch. "You're being ridiculous." "Ridiculous," she scoffed, her heart hammering in her chest. "You think I don't know what I saw? The messages on your phone, the late nights, the stolen glances. You and Victoria thought I was too blind to see it all." Victoria's face turned pale, her composure cracking. "Isabel, please, we can talk about this." "Talk?" Isabel laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "What is there to talk about? You've betrayed me in the worst way possible, and for what? To get your hands on my father's business? To tear apart everything I've worked so hard for?" The guests murmured among themselves, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others whispering accusations. Nathan's face flushed with anger, and he stepped forward, pointing an accusatory finger at Isabel. "You're making a fool of yourself. This is your wedding day. You're ruining everything." "No, Nathan, you ruined everything the moment you chose to betray me," she retorted, her voice gaining strength. "But it's not just about your infidelity. It's about the truth that's been hidden for too long. You're not who you say you are." "What are you talking about?" he demanded, his bravado faltering slightly. "What do you mean?" Isabel took a deep breath, her heart racing, as she prepared to reveal the secret she had stumbled upon. "I found out who you really are. You're not just a charming man with a perfect smile. You've been lying to me since the beginning. You're involved in something dangerous, something criminal." Liam stepped closer, his expression serious. "I did some digging, Nathan. You've been using Isabel to get to her family's business. You've been playing her for a fool." The color drained from Nathan's face as he glanced nervously at Victoria, who had gone completely still, her eyes wide. "This is absurd," he stammered, but the confidence was gone from his voice. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, but I do." Isabel pressed on her heart, pounding in her chest. "I've seen the evidence, the shady dealings, the manipulation. You thought you could take everything from me without consequences." Nathan's facade crumbled, his expression shifting from anger to desperation. "You can't prove anything, you're just a scared little girl lashing out because you're hurt." The crowd gasped again, their disbelief turning to sympathy for Isabel. She straightened her back, feeling the weight of their gazes, their support. "I may have been scared, Nathan, but not anymore. I'm not that girl you thought I was. I'm taking control of my life, and it starts now." With that, she turned to the guests, her voice rising with conviction. "I invite you all to witness the truth. What Nathan has done is not just a betrayal of love, it's a betrayal of trust, of family, and of everything we've built together." As she spoke, the atmosphere shifted. What had begun as a wedding filled with love and joy morphed into a powerful declaration of freedom and self-empowerment. Isabel felt a swell of strength within her, a sense of purpose that she had never known before. "Today isn't the end for me, it's just the beginning," she declared, her eyes blazing with determination. "I will not let this man dictate my future. I will not allow his lies to shatter my dreams. I am stronger than I ever thought possible, and I will fight for my child and my family's legacy." The applause started slowly, hesitant at first, but grew into a thunderous roar as the guests began to stand in solidarity with her. Isabel felt tears prick at her eyes, not of sadness, but of triumph. This was her moment, her truth, and she was ready to embrace whatever came next. Isabel stood in front of the mirror, her reflection a mix of determination and vulnerability. The soft light of the dressing room illuminated her face, revealing the flicker of anxiety in her eyes. With a deep breath, she adjusted the delicate lace of her wedding dress, a gown she had envisioned wearing for years but now felt like a shroud of betrayal. Her heart raced as the weight of the moment settled in her chest, threatening to suffocate her. Today was supposed to be the happiest day of her life, yet it had become a battleground for her dignity and self-worth. "Isabel, are you ready?" A voice called from the other side of the door. It was Victoria, her best friend and maid of honor. The irony of the situation twisted in Isabel's stomach like a knife. She could see the confidence that Victoria exuded, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in Isabel's heart. "Just a second," Isabel replied, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling within her. She needed a moment alone to gather her thoughts, to remind herself of the plan she had meticulously crafted with Liam. This was her moment to reclaim her narrative, to expose the lies that had shattered her world. With a final glance at her reflection, Isabel turned away from the mirror and opened the door. Victoria stood there, her blonde hair cascading in perfect waves, a radiant smile plastered on her face. "You look stunning, Nathan is going to be blown away," she exclaimed, her enthusiasm seemingly genuine. "Thanks," Isabel murmured, forcing a smile as she stepped into the bright hallway filled with the chatter of guests. The sounds of laughter and clinking glasses resonated in eerie contrast to the turmoil in her heart. As they walked towards the ceremony, Isabel's mind raced with thoughts of Nathan and the betrayal that had brought her to this moment. "Is everything okay?" "You seem a little off," Victoria said, glancing sideways at Isabel, her brow slightly furrowed with concern. "I'm fine," Isabel replied, her tone sharper than intended. "Just a little nervous, I guess." Victoria chuckled lightly, dismissing Isabel's unease. "It's normal to feel this way. Just think about how happy you'll be once you're married. All of this will be worth it," she said, oblivious to the storm brewing beneath Isabel's calm exterior. As they reached the entrance to the grand hall, Isabel's heart raced. She caught a glimpse of Nathan standing at the altar, looking dapper in his tailored suit. His smile was radiant, but beneath it, she felt a churning dread, a sense that the man she thought she knew was a stranger beneath the surface. The music began to play, and Isabel took her place at the end of the aisle, her heart pounding in rhythm with the melody. As she walked down, she forced herself to meet Nathan's gaze. For a brief moment, she felt a flicker of the love she once held for him, but it quickly faded as she recalled their shared moments, now tainted by betrayal. Liam stood at the back of the hall watching with a mix of concern and admiration as Isabel approached the altar. He had witnessed her transformation over the past few days, how she had shifted from a heartbroken bride to a woman determined to reclaim her power. The way she walked head held high was a testament to her strength. He felt a surge of pride as she approached Nathan, her expression resolute. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today," the officiant began, but Isabel's mind was elsewhere. She could see Nathan's face, the way his smile faltered ever so slightly as he sensed the tension in the air. Isabel's heart raced as the moment she had been waiting for approached, a moment that would change everything. "Isabel, do you take Nathan to be your lawfully wedded husband?" the officiant asked, pausing to allow her to respond. The hushed crowd awaited her answer, eyes darting between her and Nathan, anticipation thick in the air. "I do," she said, her voice steady, despite the turmoil inside. But as she spoke, memories flooded her mind, the late-night texts, the stolen glances, the way Victoria had laughed at her jokes, all while betraying her trust. The weight of the betrayal crashed over her like a wave, and suddenly she felt a surge of adrenaline. "Wait!" Isabel exclaimed, her voice ringing out across the hall, startling the guests. Gasps echoed as all eyes turned to her, confusion written across their faces. "Before we go any further, I need to say something." Nathan's expression shifted from joy to alarm, and he opened his mouth to protest, but Isabel pressed on, unyielding. "I can't marry you, Nathan. Not now, not ever." The words felt liberating as they left her lips, a cathartic release of all the pain she had bottled inside. "Isabel, what are you talking about?" Nathan's voice was sharp, almost panicked. "This isn't funny, we're getting married." "This isn't a joke," she replied, her voice rising above the murmurs of the crowd. "You've lied to me, Nathan. You've lied to all of us." "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, his bravado faltering as he glanced nervously around the hall. "Maybe you should ask Victoria," Isabel said, her gaze shifting to her best friend, whose expression had transformed from shock to fear. "Because I have proof. I know about the affair, and I know why you've been lying." The crowd erupted into whispers, and Isabel felt a rush of adrenaline. This was her moment, the culmination of her plan with Liam. She had set up a projector to display the evidence she had gathered, screen captures of Nathan's messages, recordings of his phone calls, everything that would lay bare the truth. "Isabel, please," Nathan pleaded, desperation creeping into his voice. "Let's not do this here." "This is exactly where it needs to happen," she retorted, her eyes ablaze with anger and determination. "You think you can just take my love and my trust and toss it away? You thought I would walk down that aisle without knowing the truth?" Victoria's face turned pale as she realized the gravity of the situation. "Isabel, you don't have to do this," she exclaimed, her voice shaky. "We can talk about this privately." "No, Victoria," Isabel shot back, her voice steady. "You've had your chance to betray me in private. Now it's time for the truth to come out." With trembling hands, she gestured towards the projector, which flickered to life, illuminating the hushed crowd with images that would change everything. Isabel could see the shock on their faces, their disbelief as the truth unfolded before them. She felt a sense of empowerment surge through her. This was her moment of truth, and she was no longer the victim. As the evidence flashed across the screen, Liam stepped forward from the back of the hall, his expression resolute. "Isabel, you're stronger than you know. This is your moment. Don't let them take it away from you." Isabel met Liam's gaze, finding strength in his unwavering support. "Thank you," she whispered, her heart swelling with gratitude. She turned back to the crowd, her voice ringing clear. "Nathan Carter has been deceiving not just me, but all of you. This man is not who he claims to be. And Victoria, my so-called best friend, has been complicit in this betrayal." Gasps echoed through the hall as the guests began to murmur amongst themselves, the weight of revelation settling heavily in the air. Isabel felt a surge of power as she continued. "Today is not about a wedding. It's about reclaiming my life and my future. I will not be a pawn in their game any longer." As Nathan's face turned a shade of crimson, Isabel caught a glimpse of the fear in his eyes. He had underestimated her, thinking she would simply accept the lies and walk away. But now, she was ready to fight for herself and her unborn child, ready to expose the darkness that had overshadowed her life for far too long. "I refuse to let you take away my happiness, my trust, and my future," she declared, her voice steady and strong. "So today I walk away from this altar, from you and from everything you represent. I choose me." With that, Isabel turned on her heel, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and exhilaration. She had chosen to reclaim her narrative, to step into her power, and to embrace the unknown future ahead of her. The hall erupted into a flurry of voices, confusion and shock mingling in the air, but all she could focus on was the freedom she felt in that moment. As she made her way out, Liam followed closely behind a reassuring presence at her side. "You did it, Isabel," he said softly, admiration shining in his eyes. "You took back your power." "I couldn't have done it without you," she replied, a smile breaking through the tears of relief. "Thank you for believing in me." As they stepped into the daylight, Isabel felt the weight of the world lift off her shoulders. She was ready for whatever came next, ready to fight for her baby, her family legacy, and the new life that awaited her beyond the shadows of betrayal. Isabel sat on the edge of her bed, the soft cream-colored duvet crumpled beneath her. The morning light filtered through the sheer curtains, casting a warm glow over the room, but it did little to lift the weight pressing on her chest. The events of the previous day played on a relentless loop in her mind. She had exposed Nathan and Victoria in front of everyone, her heart racing as she watched their faces fall, their secrets laid bare for all to see. The horror of betrayal had morphed into something unexpected, a sense of liberation. But now, as she prepared for the next step, the thrill of her newfound freedom was tinged with anxiety. "Isabel." Liam's voice broke the silence, soft yet firm. He appeared in the doorway, his dark hair tousled, and his shirt slightly wrinkled as if he had rushed over straight from his shift. His presence felt like an anchor amidst the chaos that had erupted in her life. She looked up, forcing a smile. "Hey, just trying to process everything." Liam stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "I can only imagine. You were incredible yesterday. The way you stood up for yourself, it was inspiring." Isabel shook her head, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. "Inspiring or reckless, I mean, I just made a huge scene at what was supposed to be my wedding, and now everyone knows everything. They needed to know. You needed to know. Do you really want to spend your life with someone who would betray you like that?" Liam took a seat beside her, his eyes serious, searching hers for a flicker of doubt. "No. Of course not," Isabel replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "But it's not just about Nathan. It's Victoria, too. She was supposed to be my best friend." "Sometimes the people closest to us can hurt us the most," Liam said softly. "But you're strong, Isabel. You'll get through this." She turned to him, their eyes locking. "I'm scared, Liam. What if Nathan comes after me? What if he tries to hurt me or the baby?" "Hey." He placed a reassuring hand on her back, his warmth radiating through her. "We'll figure this out together. You're not alone in this, I promise." "Thank you," she said, swallowing the lump in her throat. "I don't know what I would do without you." Liam smiled gently. "You'd be fine, but I'm glad I'm here. We need to start planning your next move. Nathan's not going to take this lying down. He's dangerous." The thought sent a shiver down her spine. "What do you mean?" "I mean, from what I've heard, he's not just some heartbroken fiancé. He was involved in some shady business dealings even before you two got engaged. I overheard some things while working at the hotel. He's connected to, well, let's just say there are people who wouldn't take kindly to his name being dragged through the mud." Isabel's heart raced. "You think he's involved in something criminal?" Liam nodded, his expression grave. "It's possible. And you need to be careful, Isabel. If he thinks you're a threat to him or his plans, he might do something drastic." "I have to protect my baby," she said fiercely, the maternal instinct rising within her. "I won't let him hurt us." "Exactly. So let's dig deeper. We need to find out everything about Nathan's past, and we need to do it quickly. His connections might be dangerous, but knowledge is power." Isabel took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Okay, let's do it. But how?" "We'll start at his old jobs. Look for anyone who might have worked with him. Liam suggested. And we can check social media for any associates. If he's involved in something bigger, there will be a trail. Isabel nodded, determination flooding through her. Right. And if we can find someone who knows something, we might be able to stop him before it's too late. As they began brainstorming ideas, Isabel's phone buzzed on the nightstand, shattering the moment of clarity. She hesitated before picking it up, a sense of dread creeping in. The screen lit up with a message from Nathan. "I can't believe you did that," it read. "You've made a huge mistake. You'll regret this." Her heart raced as she read the words, anger boiling inside her. "I can't believe him. He thinks he can intimidate me." "Don't respond," Liam urged, leaning closer. "He's trying to get a reaction. Just ignore him for now." Isabel nodded, putting her phone down. "You're right. He doesn't get to control me anymore." "Exactly. Let's focus on gathering information instead." The two spent the next few hours mapping out a strategy. They scoured the internet, searching for any news articles related to Nathan's past jobs or connections. Isabel found herself increasingly drawn into the investigation, her initial shock transforming into a fierce determination to uncover the truth. As the afternoon sun dipped lower in the sky, Liam leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "It's like he's a ghost. There's hardly anything out there." Isabel bit her lip, her mind racing. What if he's been careful about covering his tracks? There has to be someone who knows him, someone who can help. Liam's eyes lit up with a thought. What about his old colleagues? If he worked in shady businesses, there might have been someone who didn't like him. Good idea. I remember he mentioned working at a bar downtown before he started at the hotel. I could try going there and talking to people. Let's do it. We can head over there tonight and see what we can find out. As they made their plans, Isabel felt a sense of purpose blossom within her. This wasn't just about revenge. Anymore, it was about securing her future and the future of her child. "Thank you for being here with me," she said softly, looking at Liam. "I don't know how I would do this alone." "I'll always be here," he replied, his sincerity evident. "You're stronger than you realize, Isabel. And I have your back." With that, they set their plan in motion, a quiet resolve binding them together. As they prepared to face whatever Nathan had in store for them, Isabel felt a spark of hope. She was not just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for her child, for the life she was determined to reclaim. She would uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The church was a cacophony of whispers and gasps, the tension palpable in the air. Isabel stood at the altar, her heart racing as she faced the congregation, the radiant white of her wedding dress, a stark contrast to the storm brewing within her. The guests initially there to celebrate love were now mere spectators to a drama, unfolding before them. Nathan stood to her left, a look of confusion plastered across his face, while Victoria, her supposed best friend, was frozen in shock at the back of the church. "Isabel, what are you doing?" Nathan's voice cut through the murmurs, tinged with panic. "This isn't how it's supposed to be." She took a deep breath, grounding herself. "No, Nathan, this isn't how it's supposed to be. You've been lying to me, to everyone," she replied, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "You and Victoria, you think I wouldn't find out?" The gasps intensified, and Isabel could see the shock rippling through the crowd. Her parents exchanged worried glances, and she felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. This was her moment. The moment she had planned meticulously with Liam, the young waiter who had unexpectedly become her confidant and ally. "Isabel, please," Nathan pleaded, his voice dropping to a softer, more desperate tone. "Let's talk about this later. We can fix it." "Fix it?" Isabel laughed bitterly, her heart hammering in her chest. "You mean fix your lies? You think I'll just stand here and allow you to manipulate me into believing that everything is fine, that I'm the fool who's been blind to your betrayal?" Victoria stepped forward, her face a mask of indignation. "Isabel, you need to calm down. This isn't the place for this. You're just making a scene." "A scene?" Isabel echoed, her voice rising. "You think this is a scene? You both treated me like a fool, and you want me to sit down and accept it quietly." She turned to the guests, her eyes sweeping across their faces, seeking support. "You all deserve to know the truth." The church was silent now, all eyes on her. Isabel could feel the weight of their gazes, the judgment, but also the understanding. She needed to tell her story to expose the betrayal and reclaim her narrative. "Let me tell you what's been happening behind the scenes," she said, gathering her courage. "While I was busy preparing for this wedding, Nathan and Victoria were busy plotting behind my back. They've been together for years, and it was all a facade to get closer to my family's wealth." Nathan's face turned a shade of red, the panic now morphing into anger. "That's not true, you're twisting things," Isabel pressed on, ignoring him. "You think I haven't seen the way you look at each other, the way you whisper when you think I'm not around. I might be a nurse, but I'm not blind." As she spoke, Isabel glanced toward Liam, who stood near the entrance, his expression one of unwavering support. He gave her a small nod, encouraging her to continue. "Did you think I wouldn't find out the truth, that I wouldn't connect the dots?" She took a step closer to Nathan, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "You thought you could play me, Nathan, that I wouldn't notice the money, disappearing from my father's accounts, the deals you've been making with shady investors. You're not just a liar, you're a fraud." Gasps erupted from the crowd. A murmur of disbelief spread like wildfire. Isabel felt a rush of empowerment, the kind she hadn't felt in years. She was reclaiming her story, her life, and it felt intoxicating. "Nathan, you think you can just walk away from this?" Isabel continued. "You think I'll let you ruin my family's legacy for your greed? No. I refuse to be a pawn in your game any longer." Victoria, flustered and desperate, interjected. "Isabel, you're being dramatic. You know Nathan loves you. This is just a misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" Isabel scoffed. "You think this is a misunderstanding? I'm pregnant, Victoria. I'm carrying a child, and you both thought it was okay to betray me like this." The weight of her words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. She could see the realization dawning on many faces in the crowd. Friends, acquaintances, family, people she had trusted. The betrayal felt like a knife twisting deeper, but she refused to let it break her. "I will not let you take away my happiness or my child's future," Isabel declared, her voice ringing with conviction. "This isn't just about love, it's about trust, loyalty, and the kind of life I want to build for my baby." Nathan opened his mouth to respond, but Isabel cut him off. "No more lies, Nathan. No more pretending. You can't manipulate me anymore." With that, she turned back to the guests, her heart pounding fiercely in her chest. "I know this is shocking, but I want all of you to understand that love shouldn't be built on deceit. I deserve better than this. My child deserves better than this." The crowd began to murmur again, and Isabel could sense the shift in the atmosphere. She could feel the support growing around her, and it fueled her determination. "I am stronger than I ever knew," she said, her voice gaining momentum. "This is a moment of liberation, not just for me, but for anyone who has ever felt powerless in the face of betrayal." "Isabel, please," Nathan started again, but she raised her hand, silencing him. "I don't want to hear your excuses anymore. You've shown me who you truly are, and I will not be part of your lies any longer." Victoria, realizing the gravity of the situation, started to back away. "This isn't over, Isabel. You'll regret this." "Regret?" Isabel laughed again, a sound that echoed through the church. "I won't regret standing up for myself. I won't regret choosing my child over your lies. This is where I draw the line." As Victoria turned to flee, Isabel felt a surge of adrenaline. "Oh, and Victoria," she called after her, "you might want to watch your back. I have a feeling this isn't the last you'll hear from me." With that, she felt a weight lift from her shoulders, and as the whispers in the church began to quiet, she stood tall, a new sense of purpose igniting within her. She was done being the victim. She was ready to be the warrior. The applause began slowly, hesitant at first, but it grew into a wave of support that washed over her. Friends and family were rising to their feet, their expressions a mix of shock and admiration. Isabel looked around, heart racing, and knew that she had not only exposed the truth, but she had also begun to reclaim her life. In that moment, surrounded by the people who loved her, she felt a spark of hope ignite within her. She would protect her child, uncover the truth about Nathan's dark past, and reclaim her legacy. This was only the beginning of her journey, and she was ready for whatever came next. Isabel stood in the dim light of the hotel bathroom, staring at her reflection. The ivory lace of her wedding dress clung to her body, the fabric now heavy with the weight of betrayal and heartbreak. She couldn't believe that just hours ago she had been preparing to marry Nathan Carter, the man she thought she loved. Now the thought of him made her stomach churn. With a shaky breath, she turned away from the mirror, focusing on the task ahead. She had to be strong not just for herself, but for the child growing inside her. The soft, rhythmic thumping of her heart echoed the urgency of her mission. She had a plan, one that involved exposing Nathan and Victoria in front of everyone gathered for the wedding. She could not let them ruin her life any longer. Isabel. A gentle voice broke through her thoughts. It was Liam Rivera, the young waiter, who had offered her support during the chaos of the last few hours. "Are you ready?" She took a moment to compose herself before stepping out of the bathroom. Liam stood there, his eyes filled with concern. He was dressed sharply in his black uniform, but his demeanor was anything but formal. "You don't have to go through with this. You can still walk away," he urged softly. Isabel shook her head, a bitter smile forming on her lips. "Walk away?" "No, Liam. I'm not running anymore. I'm taking control of my life. This is my moment to show everyone who Nathan really is." "Then I'm with you," he replied, his voice steady. "Whatever you need." She appreciated his unwavering support. "Thank you," she whispered. "Let's do this." As they made their way back to the grand ballroom, Isabel's heart raced in anticipation and dread. The room was filled with laughter and chatter, the air thick with the scent of flowers and anticipation. Guests were mingling, oblivious to the storm brewing just beneath the surface. Her eyes scanned the crowd, finally landing on Nathan, who was cornered by a group of friends, his smile bright but hollow. "Look at him," she murmured almost to herself. "He has no idea what's coming." Liam placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Are you sure you want to do this now? We could wait for a better moment." "No," she replied firmly, resolve hardening. "The longer I wait, the harder it'll be. I need to do this now before he gets the chance to spin his lies." With a deep breath, she stepped into the ballroom, the heavy doors swinging open with a creak that drew attention. Heads turned and conversations hushed as she made her way to the center of the room. The elegant chandeliers above cast a soft glow on her, and for a moment she felt like a queen ready to reclaim her throne. "Isabel," Nathan exclaimed, his face shifting from surprise to confusion. "What are you doing? You're supposed to be getting ready." "I'm ready," she declared, her voice clear and steady. "Ready to tell everyone the truth about you and Victoria." Gasps erupted from the crowd, and she could see a mix of shock and curiosity on their faces. Nathan stepped forward, his expression shifting to one of anger. "What are you talking about? This isn't the time for games, Isabel." "No games, Nathan, just the truth," she shot back. "How you think you can betray me and get away with it? You and my best friend." Victoria emerged from the crowd, her face pale and eyes wide. "Isabel, please, let's talk about this privately." "No!" Isabel shouted, her heart pounding fiercely in her chest. "There's nothing to discuss. I deserve to be heard, and so does everyone else here." She gestured around the room, her voice rising in intensity. "These people came here to celebrate love, and instead they're witnessing treachery, Nathan. You've been lying to everyone, including me, and it stops here." The tension in the room was thick, the hushed whispers of the guests echoing in her ears. She felt the weight of their gazes, a mixture of pity and intrigue. Isabel took a step closer to Nathan, her heart racing. "You thought you could play me for a fool, didn't you? You and Victoria plotted behind my back for years while I trusted you both." Nathan's face was a mask of disbelief. "This is absurd. I love you, Isabel. You know that." "Love, is that what you call it?" Isabel's voice cracked with emotion. "You didn't just betray me. You betrayed our future, the life we were supposed to build together. You used me to get closer to my family's wealth." Gasps filled the air again, and Isabel could see the realization dawning on the faces of the guests. She turned her back on Nathan, facing the crowd. "I deserve better than this. I deserve honesty, respect, and love. And I'll be damned if I allow you to take that away from me." Victoria stepped forward, her voice shaky. "Isabel, you don't know what you're talking about. Nathan is not who you think he is. He what?" Isabel interrupted fiercely. "He's a liar, a cheat, an opportunist. You think I didn't see the way you two looked at each other behind my back? You think I didn't notice how you both conspired to take everything from me?" A murmur of shock rippled through the crowd. Liam stood beside her, his presence a grounding force. He nodded subtly, encouraging her to continue. "Victoria, you were supposed to be my best friend. You were supposed to have my back, not stab me in it." Isabel's voice broke slightly, but she steadied herself, wiping away the tears threatening to spill. "I trusted you both, and now I refuse to remain silent." Nathan's face twisted in rage, and he stepped closer, his voice low and menacing. "You'll regret this, Isabel. You have no idea what you're getting into." "I know exactly what I'm getting into," she replied defiantly, her heart racing. "I'm reclaiming my life and my dignity. I won't let you intimidate me anymore." The guests were silent, the atmosphere charged with tension. Isabel could feel the shift in energy as people began to murmur amongst themselves, the reality of the situation sinking in. She could see doubt creeping into Nathan's bravado, and it fueled her determination. "You thought this was a game, Nathan, but it's not. You played with my heart and my future, and now you'll face the consequences," she declared, her voice steady and unwavering. With a final glance at Nathan, she turned to the crowd, her heart pounding, but her spirit unbroken. "This is my truth. I will not be defined by your lies or your betrayal. I am stronger than you think, and I will rise from this." As she finished, a wave of applause surged from the guests, surprising even herself. The realization of support and solidarity energized her, and she felt a renewed sense of purpose. Liam stepped forward, a proud smile on his face. "Isabel, that was incredible. You're amazing." "Thank you," she replied, feeling a rush of gratitude for his unwavering support. "But this isn't over. I need to find out the truth about Nathan, and I won't stop until I do." As the applause faded, Isabel felt a mixture of relief and determination. She had taken back her power, and now it was time to dig deeper into Nathan's past. She would uncover the truth, not just for herself, but for the future of her child. With newfound resolve, she turned to Liam. "Let's get to work." The church was filled with an air of excitement, the soft murmur of guests preparing to witness what they assumed would be the happiest moment of Isabel Turner's life. Rows of white chairs adorned with delicate floral arrangements framed the aisle, and the gentle sound of a string quartet filled the cavernous space with ethereal melodies. Yet for Isabel, the day had turned into a twisted nightmare, the weight of betrayal heavy in her heart, as she stood at the altar, her hands trembling at her sides. She could see Nathan, his handsome face framed by his dark hair, standing there with an expression that oscillated between pride and confusion. Beside him, Victoria Hayes, her best friend since childhood, wore a smile that made Isabel's stomach churn. The sight of them together felt like a dagger twisting in her chest, each beat of her heart echoing the pain of their treachery. Isabel took a deep breath, her pregnant belly a constant reminder of the life she was carrying within her. She had thought she was walking towards a future filled with love and happiness, but now she felt like she was about to plunge into an abyss. The words of the officiant were a blur as he began to speak, the sound of his voice fading into the background as she focused on her plan. Just as the officiant reached the part of the ceremony where Nathan would say his vows, Isabel's heart raced. This was her moment. She could feel Liam's presence nearby, his steady gaze lending her strength. He had promised to back her up, to help her expose the truth. She knew that revealing Nathan and Victoria's betrayal in front of everyone was risky, but the thought of walking away from this altar without doing anything felt unbearable. "Isabel," the officiant's voice broke through her thoughts, and she shook her head slightly as if awakening from a dream. "Do you have something to say?" With a sharp inhale, she stepped forward, her voice steady, but filled with an intensity that caught the attention of everyone in the room. "I do," she said, raising her chin defiantly. "I have something to say." The murmurs among the guests grew louder as they exchanged confused glances. Nathan's eyes widened in surprise, and for a moment he looked like a deer caught in the headlights. Isabel could see Victoria's expression shift from a smug smile to one of panic. Before she could lose her nerve, Isabel continued, "I thought this was going to be the happiest day of my life, but I've discovered that it's actually the beginning of my freedom." She could feel the weight of their gazes upon her, the room thick with anticipation. For years I believed I was surrounded by love and support, but what I found was betrayal. Nathan opened his mouth to speak, but Isabel raised her hand, cutting him off. "You don't get to talk right now, Nathan," she said, her voice firm. "I know about you and Victoria. I know about the lies and how you've manipulated not just me, but everyone here." Gasps rippled through the audience. Isabel's heart raced, adrenaline coursing through her as she locked eyes with Nathan, who seemed to shrink under her scrutiny. "You thought you could deceive me forever," she continued, feeling a surge of empowerment. "You thought I wouldn't find out." Victoria stepped forward, her face pale, her composure cracking. "Isabel, please, let's talk about this later." "There is no later for you two," Isabel interrupted, her voice rising. "I'm done being the victim. You both have played your games, and now it's time for the truth." As she spoke, she glanced at Liam, who nodded encouragingly, his expression fierce and protective. She felt a sense of solidarity with him, a bond forged in the flames of betrayal. "I've uncovered more than just your affair," she said, her voice steady. "Nathan, your lies go deeper than I could have imagined. You're not just a cheating fiancé, you're a con artist." The crowd gasped again, a collective intake of breath that seemed to echo in the grand church. Nathan's face turned a shade paler, and Isabel could see the panic creeping into his eyes. "Isabel, stop!" he finally blurted out, his voice shaky. "You're making a mistake." "No, Nathan," she replied, her tone unwavering. "The only mistake I made was trusting you." She took a step closer to him, her gaze unyielding. "You've been using me to get to my family's wealth, haven't you? You thought you could marry into our lives, take what you wanted, and leave me in the dark." "Isabel, please," Victoria cried out, her voice cracking. "This isn't the place." "But it is the place, Victoria," Isabel shot back. "This is where I reclaim my truth, and I won't let you silence me any longer." She turned back to the guests, her heart pounding. "You deserve to know the truth about the man you all thought was perfect. Nathan has been lying to all of us, and Victoria has been complicit every step of the way." Nathan clenched his fists, his jaw tightening as he struggled to maintain his composure. "You're just hurting yourself," he said, desperation lacing his voice. "You don't know what you're doing." "I know exactly what I'm doing," Isabel said with fierce determination. "I'm taking back my power." As the words left her lips, she felt an unfamiliar strength surging through her. She could sense the growing support from the guests, their gazes shifting from curiosity to sympathy, and then to solidarity. "Liam," she called, her voice cutting through the tension. "Can you come up here, please?" Liam stepped forward, moving with purpose, his presence bolstering Isabel's resolve. "What's going on?" he asked, his brow furrowing as he looked between Isabel and Nathan. "Liam is here to help me expose Nathan's true colors," Isabel said, her heart racing. "He's been there for me when I thought I was alone, and he's helped me uncover the truth behind Nathan's lies." Nathan scoffed, but Isabel ignored him. "The truth is, Nathan has been playing a dangerous game, and it's time for everyone to see who he really is." Liam took a deep breath, his expression serious. "Isabel, I found something that connects Nathan to a much larger scheme." The tension in the room escalated as Liam pulled a small folder from his pocket, handing it to Isabel. She opened it, revealing documents and photographs that detailed Nathan's dealings, his connections to shady figures in the business world, and evidence of the manipulation he had enacted on her family. "This is what he's been hiding," Liam said, his voice low but firm. "It goes beyond just your relationship. It's about power, money, and deceit." Isabel felt the weight of the documents in her hands, a tangible link to the truth she had been seeking. She could feel the gasps from the crowd as they leaned in to see what was unfolding. "I didn't just come here to expose your affair, Nathan," Isabel said, her voice steady. "I'm here to protect my family and my child from the likes of you." The church, once filled with anticipation for a wedding, now buzzed with a different energy, one of revelation and strength. Isabel felt a sense of liberation wash over her. She had turned her pain into power, and in that moment she knew she was reclaiming her life. The truth was out, and while the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, Isabel was ready to face them head-on. No longer would she be defined by the betrayal she had endured. She was stepping into her own story, one that would be filled with courage, resilience, and hope for a brighter future. Isabel stood outside the grand venue, the once beautiful hall, now a haunting reminder of what was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. The air was thick with tension, and the echoes of laughter from inside felt like daggers piercing her heart. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to steady her racing heartbeat. The betrayal of Nathan and Victoria was still raw, a wound that throbbed with every passing moment. But today was not about her pain, it was about reclaiming her narrative. "Are you ready?" Liam's voice cut through her thoughts, grounding her in the moment. He stood beside her, a pillar of support in the wake of chaos. His dark hair fell slightly over his brow, and his hazel eyes were filled with a mixture of determination and concern. "As ready as I'll ever be," Isabel replied, her voice steady, despite the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside her. She looked at the elegantly decorated doors leading into the hall, where her life had just unraveled. "I need to do this, Liam, for myself and for my baby." He nodded, a small smile breaking through the serious atmosphere. "Then let's make sure they hear you loud and clear." With a final nod, Isabel straightened her back and walked through the doors, Liam right behind her. The hall was filled with guests, their faces a blend of joy and confusion as they turned to see the unexpected entrance. Isabel's heart raced, but she focused on the task ahead. Nathan stood at the altar, his face pale as he registered her presence. Beside him, Victoria fidgeted, a look of panic flashing across her eyes. "Isabel," Nathan called out, the surprise in his voice palpable. "What are you doing here?" Isabel's lips curled into a faint smile, but her eyes burned with determination. "I'm here to expose the truth, Nathan. The truth you tried so hard to bury." Gasps rippled through the crowd as she stepped closer, her gaze locked onto Nathan's. "You thought this day was about love, didn't you? About the perfect wedding, the perfect life. But it was all a lie." "What are you talking about?" he stammered, his bravado faltering, as the reality of the situation began to sink in. "Everyone deserves to know the truth about the man they're celebrating today." Isabel's voice rose, echoing off the walls. "You and Victoria have betrayed me for years, hiding behind smiles and sweet words, while plotting to ruin my family." Victoria stepped forward, her face flushed with anger. "Isabel, you're being ridiculous. This isn't the time or place for this kind of drama." "Drama?" Isabel shot back, her voice sharp. "You think this is drama? You think it's dramatic to expose a traitor on their wedding day? You should be ashamed of yourself. You played the role of my best friend while sleeping with my fiancé." The guests murmured, the weight of her words settling over them like a dark cloud. Isabel could see the dawning realization on their faces as they began to piece together. The betrayal. Nathan's expression shifted from shock to anger. "You're making a fool of yourself. You're just jealous because you can't have what I have." "No, Nathan," Isabel said, her voice unwavering. "I'm here to reclaim my life. You may have thought you could manipulate me, but I see through your lies now. You're not just a liar, you're a conman. You've been using me to get closer to my family's business, haven't you?" The crowd gasped again, and Nathan's face twisted in disbelief. "That's absurd. You're just desperate to paint me as the villain." "Am I?" Isabel turned. To the guests, her heart racing but her resolve strengthening. "Let me remind you all of something. Nathan is not who he claims to be. He has a history of deceit and manipulation. And he's not just after my heart, he wants control over my family's legacy." "No!" Victoria shouted, her voice breaking. "Isabel, stop this, you're just hurting yourself more." Isabel paused, locking eyes with her former friend. "And you think you're innocent in all of this? You've betrayed me in the worst way possible, and now you want to play the victim." Liam stepped forward, sensing the need to support Isabel. "You may have thought you could get away with this, but we're not going to let you take advantage of Isabel any longer." Nathan's facade began to crack as the crowd's murmurs grew louder. "You're both insane. This isn't how it's supposed to go." He turned to the guests, desperation in his eyes. "This is all a misunderstanding." Isabel took a deep breath, feeling a surge of empowerment wash over her. "No more misunderstandings, Nathan. Today I'm taking back my voice. I will not allow you to continue this charade any longer." The tension in the room was palpable, and Isabel could feel the shift in the atmosphere as her words sank in. People were beginning to realize the truth behind the facade Nathan had carefully constructed. "Isabel, please," Nathan pleaded, his tone shifting to one of desperation. "You don't know what you're doing. We can still make this work. Just come back to me and we'll forget this ever happened." Isabel shook her head, her heart pounding. "It's too late for that. You've shown me who you really are, and I refuse to live a life built on lies. I deserve better than this." As she spoke, she felt a warmth inside her, a sense of liberation that she had never experienced before. The weight of Nathan's betrayal was lifting, replaced by a newfound strength. "I'll be raising our child alone if necessary, but I will not let you take my future away from me." Nathan's face twisted in rage, but Isabel didn't back down. "You may have thought you could control everything, but you've underestimated my resolve. I will make sure you're held accountable for your actions, not just to me, but to everyone." "You've deceived." With that, Isabel turned to the guests, her heart swelling with determination. "Thank you all for being here today. I hope you will support me in moving forward and standing up for what is right. I will not let fear dictate my life anymore." The room erupted into applause, the sound echoing off the walls as the guests began to rally behind her. Isabel felt a wave of relief wash over her, knowing that she had taken the first step toward reclaiming her power. Nathan stood speechless, his earlier bravado crumbling in the face of Isabel's strength. He realized that he had lost not only the woman he had betrayed, but also the facade he had carefully constructed. In that moment, Isabel knew she had won, not just a battle against Nathan, but a war against her own fears. As the applause continued, Isabel felt Liam's presence beside her, a silent promise of support. They had fought this battle together, and she knew they would face whatever came next as a team. With her head held high, she took a step forward, ready to embrace her new beginning.